He went and rang the doorbell, and he was supposed to stay outside, and his brothers were supposed to run outside, get in the car, and they come home. And that was what was supposed to happen. And while he was standing there, his brothers didn't run outside, but he got a couple of bullets in his body instead of a couple of twins coming up out and giving him a hug. And that's all I can say. I don't think I can speak anymore.
You just heard from the mother of 16-year-old Ralph Yarl, who was shot by an 84-year-old man by the name of Andrew Lester when he mistakenly went to the wrong house in an effort to pick up his twin siblings. Now, the 84-year-old who opened fire and shot the 16-year-old has officially been criminally charged, and he has been arrested by authorities. This happened in Kansas City, Missouri last Thursday. Thankfully, the 16-year-old teen, Ralph, is alive. He went to the hospital for treatment, and despite being shot twice, once in the head and once in the arm, he survived and was able to leave the hospital on Sunday night. Now, we have some more details about the shooting and what the prosecutors are saying about it. But one thing that's really important to remember is that the shooting happened last Thursday, and this man, this 84-year-old who shot a 16-year-old, a teenager, was not charged until Monday after there was backlash. So there is his mugshot right there. Again, his name is Andrew Lester, an 84-year-old. Now, bail has been set at $200,000, and the prosecutor, Zachary Thompson, said this of the motive, quote, "There was a racial component to the case," without further detailing what was meant by that statement. Now, the teenager is black. The shooter, as you can see from the mugshot, is white. And here's what allegedly happened. As I mentioned, last Thursday, Ralph was sent to pick up his younger twin brothers at a friend's house. Now, he mixed up addresses and unfortunately went to Northeast 115th Street instead of Northeast 115th Terrace, which is a block away. And Lester answered the door and decided to shoot the 16-year-old through glass door, with the first shot hitting his forehead, the second shot hitting his right arm. Now, Ralph made his way to another nearby house asking for help. Luckily, he got help. Luckily, he was rushed to the hospital and he survived the gunshot wounds. Now, it's not clear whether the teen had knocked on the door or rang the doorbell. So far, we've gotten very little explanation from the shooter. He says that he had opened the interior door, he saw the 16-year-old and feared for his life, even though the exterior door was still closed and locked, and there was no indication that the 16-year-old was any type of imminent threat to this 84-year-old man who was indoors as it happened. Now, Zachary Thompson, the prosecutor again, said that Ralph did not cross the threshold into the home and that shots were fired through a glass door from a .32 caliber handgun. There was no indication that any words were exchanged, Thompson said. Now, there are newer reports indicating that Andrew Lester might have said something to him before shooting him. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but once that is confirmed, I'll let you know what we've learned in that regard. But Cenk, this is a story that we kind of touched on briefly yesterday. And while it's clear, based on what the prosecutor is saying, that there could be a racial component to this, I want to be clear that there was yet another shooting under similar circumstances that also impacted and led to the death of a 20-year-old woman, which we'll get to in just a moment.
Yeah, so there's two elements to the story, and people are only talking about one of them. So is it racial? Well, first of all, the cops have said it's racial. And in Kansas City, Missouri, that's not a thing a conclusion they're used to jumping to fairly quickly, right? And remember, these are the same cops who did not bring him in Friday when the shooting happened. They waited all the way till Monday when there was a lot of public pressure. So that is an enormous sign, right? So, but the second thing is, guys, for those of you who don't think it's racial, really, you sure that if a 16-year-old white boy had just rang the doorbell of this 84-year-old white guy that he would have shot the 16-year-old white boy? Come on, do you really believe that? Do you? I don't know, maybe some of you do, but that seems a lot less likely. And by the way, there's a lot of different things you can fill in the blank with. Do you think he would have shot a 16-year-old white girl, an Asian boy, an Asian girl, etc., right? And so for black folks, it's fairly clear because they deal with this kind of discrimination all the time. Obviously, this is the most extreme form, but okay, so that is very well established in this case, especially because the cops say it, right? So now number two component that people are not talking about as much is, in my opinion, gun culture. And what, for all the people who have shot people on their doorway, I would be shocked if over 90% of them aren't right-wingers that do the shooting. Now, why? Is it because I hate right-wingers? No, there's a culture in the right wing of shoot first, ask questions later. I got a gun, I can't wait to use it, I can't wait to use it, I can't wait to use it. And they have all these daydreams. Oh my God, the people are gonna be crawling all over my property and I'm gonna shoot them all, I'm gonna kill like 18 people. They all have different fantasies in their heads. So when a poor black kid shows up for like, hey, he was gonna go pick up his brothers or whatever, and in the next block, and he shows up and he's like, this 84-year-old clown of clowns probably thought, this is my chance. Finally, I get to shoot someone. It's the same thing in the 20-year-old story. So, yeah, prove me wrong. I guarantee you almost all of them are right-wingers. And guys, it's not because the right-wing mind is that way, it's because the culture. They keep telling you it's awesome to shoot people. Wouldn't it be great if you got to use your Second Amendment rights? Well, this is what happens.
So I wanted to give you a few more details about this shooting and then we'll move on to the 20-year-old white woman who was shot under similar circumstances. Unfortunately, she wasn't as lucky and she died as a result of her gunshot wounds. But real quick, so Ralph's mother happens to be a nurse and she spoke to CBS Morning News and talked about the condition that her son is currently in. As I mentioned earlier, he luckily survived. She has more details to share in this next video. Let's watch.
Ralph is doing considerably well. Physically, mornings are hard, but his spirits are in a good place. I borrow from his spirits. He is in very good hands. Ralph was shot on top of his left eye, that I would say in the left frontal lobe, and then he was shot again in the upper right arm. He was shot. He had the bullet in the up here for about, let's say, up to 12 hours before it was taken out. So that injury is extensive, and it's the residual effect of that injury is gonna stay with him for quite a while.
So even though he survived, obviously, his mom talks about his injuries and the impact it's gonna have on his life, in the coming months, possibly the coming years. But also, don't discount the mental impact that a shooting like this has on a teenager. He is a teenager. He is 16 years old. He did absolutely nothing wrong, and he was met with the worst kind of imaginable violence, all because this individual who was safe inside his home with a locked door saw him as a threat. Saw him as a threat. For what reason? Why would you automatically assume that a 16-year-old who's at your door is a threat to you? It's just, the gun violence, the hatred, the absolute disregard for human life is screwing up kids in this country, okay? It's causing incredible mental harm. Aside from, by the way, how many stories have we done this year alone about mass shootings on school campuses where at least 4 kids were shot and killed? Minimum 4 kids were shot and killed. It's just, when is it gonna be enough, guys? When is it gonna be enough? Are we ever gonna get to a point where the country actually wants to do better? Are we ever gonna get to a point where we genuinely wanna protect kids? Genuinely want to protect them. I'm not talking about abortion or some other trumped up culture war drama that both sides engage in, not because they actually care about the issue, but because they want to avoid having to talk about anything that materially improves anyone's lives. I'm talking about sincere efforts to protect kids in this country, okay? Regardless of their skin color, regardless of their sexual identity, regardless of their gender identity. Why is it that we live in this country that sees children get gunned down every single day, and we just say, there's nothing we can do? Oh yeah, we elected all these losers who won't do a damn thing, but oh well, this is just how the system works. When is it gonna be enough? He's 16. 16 years old. I'm so sick of this garbage. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, well, look, all gun owners do not equal gun culture. So when I talk about gun culture, I'm talking about what Anna just put really well, a disregard for human life. And that is taught to a lot of people in this country, that other people's lives aren't anywhere near as important as yours or your gun's existence. And so if you are out there and you say, no, there's nothing in the right wing that says, we can't wait to defend ourselves, you're lying. It's an absurd lie that could be proven by just going online for 1 second, and you'll find millions of comments from right-wingers going, you come take it from my cold dead hands. I'm gonna kill you if you come for my gun. I'm gonna kill you, kill you, kill you, kill you. And then Kyle Rittenhouse goes into a Black Lives Matter event, and then he can't wait to shoot someone. Oh, somebody threw a plastic bag. Oh, look, self-defense. Somebody hit him with a skateboard, self-defense. Kills, 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 and all the right wing celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. So look, it's obviously true. So stop gaslighting us. So, and you cannot be for gun culture and call yourself quote unquote pro-life.
But they do it all day, every day. And they'll get called out on their hypocrisy. They don't care. They'll keep pushing these ridiculous narratives. As I've said a billion times, I understand lawful, law-abiding citizens wanting to own guns for, let's say they like to go hunting, they want it for protection. I understand that. I do not understand the mindset that immediately persuades you that you should just shoot first and ask questions later when there's a literal kid at your door. Now, this isn't the only story. Let's take a trip to rural New York, where a 20-year-old woman was shot. She didn't even get out of her car. She didn't even get out of her car. So she ended up in the wrong house, okay? She realized that she was at the wrong house. She had pulled into the driveway. She pulls out of the driveway, and as she's pulling out, the homeowner opens fire, okay? This is a white woman, 20 years old, okay? So look, with the first story, yes, based on what the prosecutor is saying alone, there's clearly a racial component to it. But it doesn't matter what your race is. If you think that as a white individual, you are totally safe from gun violence in this country, you are mistaken. Let me give you more details on that story. So this happened, as I mentioned, in a rural part of New York State. A man shot the 20-year-old woman as she was in her car. He's a 65-year-old by the name of Kevin Monahan, and he has been charged in this shooting. We have some more details. Why don't we watch that? I'll calm down and give you more details.
What happened was, according to the sheriff's department, is Kaylin, along with 3 of her friends, they were in a car looking for a friend's house when they didn't have GPS because of cell service in that area. They pulled into the house of this suspect, 65-year-old Kevin Monahan, didn't get out of the car, didn't have any interaction with Monahan, and started to actually leave the house, the driveway, when Monahan, according to authorities, came out, got on the porch and shot 2 shots at the car, hitting the car and hitting Gillis. It took the friends a little while, 5 miles they had to drive in order to get cell phone service, to call 911. Paramedics arrived to the area where they were able to park, and they tried to resuscitate Gillis, but she died there at the scene. Now, the sheriff actually knew the Gillis family. It seems like he knew Gillis herself, and he talked a little bit about her, saying how she was just a lovely, lovely young woman from a lovely family.
So she's in the car with her friends. They're in Hebrew, New York, which is so rural that there's no cell reception. They had to drive 5 miles in order to call the authorities and get some help. And she died later. The 20-year-old died later. Now, Washington County Sheriff Jeffrey Murphy said this of the shooter, Monahan. He said he quite frankly has not shown any remorse in this case. Police officers also responded to the home from which shots were fired and found the shooter to be uncooperative, Murphy said, adding he refused to exit his residence to speak with police. He was taken into custody hours later with help from the New York State Police Special Operations Response Team. If you see a vehicle pulling out of your driveway, how are you gonna argue that they pose any type of threat to you? How are you gonna argue that it was self-defense? Clearly, if someone is pulling out of the driveway, they are not a threat to you. This guy couldn't wait to open fire. He did open fire, and an innocent 20-year-old is dead as a result of that.
Yeah, same situation. Now, why we say the 60-year-old black guy kid is a racial incident, the 20-year-old white girl is not, because it doesn't appear that he saw who was in the car. He just came out and he's like, oh, someone is in my driveway. Oh, finally, I get to murder someone. Finally, this has been my daydream my whole life. Someone accidentally came into my driveway. All right, I'm gonna shotgun him to death. Then the cops show up and he's like, I don't even know why you guys are here. I'm not gonna let you in. You don't know why they're there? You shot at a car in your driveway and you're pretending you don't know why the cops are there. No, because he thinks in his stupid gun culture mind, I get to murder anyone that even touches on a blade of grass on my property. But why? Why do you want to murder them? Because Second Amendment rights. Yeah, come on, you know it's true. Every one of you knows it's true. Why the hell are you shooting at a car filled with kids, even if you don't know it's filled? Maybe it's filled with grandmothers, who cares? Why are you shooting at a car exiting your driveway? Why are you shooting at it? Who has done nothing to you? They have not gone to the house. The driveway, by the way, is 1/8 of a mile, so it's really long, right? They're not anywhere near the house. They're not like, they haven't gotten out of the car, nothing. He couldn't wait to use the gun. He couldn't wait. And that's the thing that connects both stories. That's the untold story of this overall. They'll talk about race in the Yarl case, and they should, right? But they won't connect the gun culture because they're afraid, oh my God, we might offend right-wingers. Their feelings are much more important than our kids' lives. So no, we wouldn't want to offend them. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.